Yo, what's up? I'ma kick it with the lines, y'all know. Yo, Slim, can I kick it like this? Here we go. Well, it's time to make that change. People of the world today are fading. All of us have our ups and downs. You better think about it or you won't be around. What we need is a little bit of love. Sent by one from heaven up above. Chicken from tea is simple and plain. This ain't no game, you know what I'm saying? What? Yep, yep. Here we go. Oh, yeah.
Hello, I'm Tommy Meeks, and I would like to welcome you to another edition of It's Time for a Change. My guest today is Reverend Samuel Sarpia.
That's correct.
Did I get it right?
You got it.
I got it right.
Yeah.
I had you on a while back, but we were talking about your mobile lab vision, your mobile lab idea. Now, you got that up and running. We're going to talk about it later on in the show. But I want you to tell my viewers who you are and what you do for the city of Rockford.
My name is Samuel Sarpia. I am a pastor of Rockford Community Church on Auburn and Meridian, way out in the cornfield. I always joke about people when I try to describe my church. I say, go to the end of the cornfield. You'll find my church out there. My church is next to the Winnebago Motorhome here in Rockford. But my heart for the city is so much that I am involved with the Rockford Police Department. As you can see, like on my emblem here, I'm wearing a Rockford Police Department's Chaplain's Division shirt because I am on duty.
Okay.
And what that means is that I am a volunteer staff of Rockford Police Department from the Chaplaincy Division. And what we do is, as the Rockford Police Department, our heart, we want to be God's hands and heart for the city of Rockford. But first for the respondents, emergency responders and their family, and then to the greater community. And so we offer chaplaincy services to the entire city. It's a group of about 15 to 20 pastors or clergy that are involved in the chaplaincy division at the moment. And so we're just there to help the city in whatever capacity that we're needed to serve.
Now, are you called out, whoever the chaplain is on duty, when something happens, like a tragedy, is a chaplain always called out, or how does that work?
Yes, when a tragedy happens, it happens in multiple fronts. Sometimes a tragedy happens if it's traffic fatality or some homicide or all kinds of, you never know what gamut you get called out for. You're either called out by the Control 5, which is the 911 center, which they have the list of the duty chaplain. And when the need overwhelms one chaplain, there's a kind of a backup chaplains that are called kind of a backup squad. We're using the lingua that is used in the police department simply because so we can understand the communication there. You get called out for duty and just to be there for an incident. Like last night, I have been on duty last night, just as I was getting ready to hit the bed to take my snooze first, and the phone rang. It was a traffic fatality, and had to just spend the whole evening working with the person that it's affected at the hospital, back and forth, in touch with the police department and the Control 5.
So you talk to the injured families or the people that's involved in the case?
In this case, I couldn't speak to the person involved because he was in a critical condition. And it's sad to say that I just heard the news earlier this morning that due to the injury sustained, the individual died. But in many instances, you find yourself being there for the family that is affected, or even to the individual. But oftentimes families are not aware, and so what the role of the chaplain is, if there is a tragedy, you try to find out who is the next of kin and go be the one to break the news, and not just break the news. Police are trained to break the news, to just be direct, but we clergy are trained to kind of soften the blow on the individual, soften the shock through the grace of the work and the ability that God has called us to do.
Okay. Now, you know, I had you on the show scheduled today, but I had another guest scheduled, and her name was Miss Rolanda Collins. She lost her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend and the two children. They were murdered. I don't know the guy's name that is charged with the murder, but she couldn't come today because the trial or preliminary hearings are taking place. So we were going to do a short version of what I invite you on for, and her and I were going to do a longer version about the pain and the violence that's going on in our community. And she wanted to talk about, you know, how people really hurt. I mean, how tragic it is to lose somebody in that manner. Did you work that case? Are you familiar with that case at all?
I don't know if this is happenstance or circumstance or God ordained, but I happened to be on duty the night of the incident. On that particular night, I did not work directly with the family, but I worked with all the detectives to try and locate the families of the victim. I was called up from, I think it happened just right before midnight, and I was out all through the night with our men in uniform, really hard working, but they were all in private uniform. They were like plain clothes that particular night, and we drove from house to house, from place to place, just trying to locate the family to break the news to them before they could hear it from the media. Because part of the role of the chaplain is to be able to make sure that the families are aware of what has just happened tragically to their loved ones, rather than just watching a TV and all of a sudden it's on TV. So I worked the case, and I think that case really drilled down something in me that just sort of reconfirmed my drive for nonviolence, my drive to see that the violence surge that we are seeing in the city of Rockford, that the community has to come together to find a solution. And I think that is where you can see the momentum for my mobile lab, which we will eventually talk about in this show, kind of like really hinged on to see the essence of trying to do something to prevent this from happening, which cannot be done by the police department alone, but as a community, we can join hands and we can go shoulder to shoulder and say, we can find a solution to the challenge.
Now, do you ever, you know, I think if everybody had an answer, you know, on how to stop the violence in our community, I think it'd be rolled out. If people could make money at it, they'd make money. What do you think? I mean, it hasn't always been like this, but we have our peaks and our valleys of violence. But as a minister, what do you think is going on? I mean, something is happening, and it's not just in Rockford. Violence is happening around the country in inner cities. Well, really all over this country, really. What do you think is causing this?
You know, I wish I have an answer. I would have sold the proprietary to that answer and make all the dollars that I need to make to be able to prevent it. But I think when somebody's situation looks hopeless and you feel the sky is falling, the moment an individual feel a sense of they're losing control, there is no light at the end of the tunnel, and so it leads to finding a personal solution. And sometimes this solution is joining a gang that gives me a sense of my sky is not really falling. And as a result of that, you find from one slippery slope, you know, the snowball effect of slippery slope. You fall, you make one wrong choice, you start sliding down, and before you realize it, it goes from just ankle deep to knee deep to waist deep to neck deep to the point that it is overwhelmed you, there is no way out. And so for the individual that is caught up in such a circle, there's just no hope. And because there is no hope, what they do is they continue to perpetuate violence, and even when arrested, get sent for reformation in the prison system, which I don't want to go into the justice system's reform procedures. But they come out of jail or out of the prison system, they just fall back right into the same environment, because the situation has not changed, the environment has not changed, and so I am convinced that part of the solution is to begin to help people to see light at the end of the tunnel.
I agree. I really agree. Now, there might be hundreds and thousands of people that look at you and I talking like this and saying, see, you want to collar up the criminals, you want to take care of the thieves. You know, I don't really want to do that. I want us to get to a point where we start heading off the potential thieves. If you take a family and the father's done something wrong, something stupid, and he got caught, he goes to jail. When he comes home from prison for doing his time, he's done his time. And there's not a system set up for that man to earn a living, to get back on his feet. I'm not saying this is an excuse, but I've had them tell me this. They will say, Meeks, what do you expect me to do? They won't give me a job. I don't have nothing. I got kids. I need things. What am I supposed to do? And then once they go to trying to sell something or earn some money, next thing you know, they might get caught up into some real violence where you end up taking somebody's life or somebody's trying to take your life. It's the slippery slope that one crime leads to another. And it doesn't always have to be like that. There's people that have committed crimes. I've had guys that I've worked with. Matter of fact, I had a guy come in, you know my classroom, you came to my classroom that I mentor. One of the first guys I helped get a job, since the chairman has picked me to do some of this work for the county, one of the first men, the actual first man I helped get a job, committed murder years ago. He did 13 years in prison for that murder because there was other circumstances involved with the murder, but he did his 13 years. And when he came out, I didn't know if I could get him a job. And it wasn't a great job, but somebody opened that door for him. And he came to my classroom just last week and gave me a piece of paper with a phone number on it. He says, look, I got a job in Elgin. They come pick me up in Rockford, and they ride me up there. I work every day, man. And he is so happy that somebody gave him a chance. You know, I helped him get the first job, but he kept going, he kept turning his life around. I don't worry about him committing murder again. But I think that him getting a chance to turn his life around could probably maybe change his kids' outlook on life, his children, and maybe his wife. You know, she feels better about him being at home at night because he's earning. There's different things, and I think that would transfer down to the cousins, the nephews, even the neighbors on that. If you get up every day, you go to work, you earn a living, and do what's right, you can put the past behind you. And then we won't create maybe 3 or 4 or 5 more potential criminals. We'll create kids that want to go to school to learn because they had a good example of somebody else that might have made a mistake, but did the right thing, got the right opportunity, and turned their life around. I mean, that's just what I think.
Yeah, you know, to piggyback on what you've just said, you know, I've been to your classroom. I actually did a pilot program with your students without telling you that I was doing a pilot program, because I didn't want to start with the statistics, but I wanted to do a pilot program and see what is the excitement, what is it that gives them a sense of oomph for life.
Right.
And so what I did was I asked you for permission if I can invite them to our static, like a brick and mortar computer lab, where we were trying to pilot our mobile lab project into moving into the community. And I tell you, there is so many great creativity amongst those people in your class. And the other flip side of it is some of them are not cut out to get a GED.
Right.
But we kept trying to say, get a GED, your life will be sorted out. And I'm not, and you know, I'm not an against education because I'm doing a doctoral degree, so I'll be the last person to tell somebody not to go to school.
Right.
But there is hidden potential in some of those guys. The reason why they are street smart is because they are entrepreneurs.
Right.
And so I have had a couple of hours of conversations with those guys, and I come out concluding that if we as a society can tap into the potential that is in these individuals, when we help transform the life of one individual, the ripple effect, the domino effect that happens in the community, it's beyond our human imagination. And that is why I tell you, I am passionate about the mobile lab project, the mobile tech lab that we've just launched about 2 weeks ago. In the last 2 weeks, the mobile tech lab has touched close to 100 lives. And we're only operating 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Now go back to how you started this mobile lab. How'd you get this vision, and who helped you with the mobile lab? That kind of helps too.
Sometimes I don't know, but let me put a disclaimer here. My doctoral degree is in semiotic and future studies.
Okay.
The science of the sign of the time. Who drives the conversation? Or what is it that drives the conversation? What drives the market? What drives the church? What drives society? And part of that is, we know we live in a very computerized generation, a generation that technology is now is become the driving force. And the concept came to me as I was processing with my group is, if we want to change the narrative of manufacturing in our region, in Northern Illinois, where we used to be top in manufacturing, top in furniture making, top in just chemical industry, for us to change the narrative, it's to be able to create a new breed of manufacturing. If we can create our own, incubate our own programmers, incubate our own app developers, incubate our own web designers, and they don't have to have a GED, but being able to read and write is very helpful.
Right.
Because it will help you know what code to put where, what syntax go where, and what when the period or what the question mark needs to be, because you know it. But I tell you, so that was kind of the genesis, the back end to the story. And so I was at a meeting because I just had a training program with the Rockford Community Police Department Command Staff and Management on community policing. And one of the conversation that I had with them was community policing involves getting the community involved, and it involves training the community in a skill that is highly, highly marketable. And I said, here is the idea that I have. I have this idea that is brewing in me, and I think I'm going to build a mobile lab. And they go, what is that? And I said, it's just a bus on wheel, and where I'll put a bus and fit it with computers and take it to the project, take it to economically depressed community and say, guess what? Ta-da! It's here. It's a tech lab. That's a lab. The lab is meant to be an incubation place where you try, prototype, and then once it works, you send it to the real production. So I shared that with the police department and the police chief. And with all the deputy chiefs sitting around the table, they said, we've got a trailer that we can let you use for that. This was last fall. But you know, when you're getting something from the government, good luck. I was hoping that will be like instantaneous.
Right.
I immediately went into gear of fundraising, computer drive. I raised all the computers, all the money, the recording studio, not money, all the materials, the items that I need. And of course, I have to take money from my own wallet, from my family, to pay for it and my church. And so before we realize it, I have all this equipment sitting in the basement in my house. I'm waiting for city council for approval. of the trailer. It took about 3 months for City Council to approve. But when they approved it, it took 1 week for me to get that
to get that set up. It
Yes.
took you 1 week.
because I had my carpenters that were willing to retrofit the trailer. I had them ready 3 months before the paper went into City Council. So I had everything lined up. I had the equipment, I had the computer guys, I had all the some of the volunteers, even though they've not seen the vision, but they've seen it from my verbal and paper, on my kitchen napkin scribble.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, when you called me last week and told me I was out, I had done some mentoring at Auburn High School. I was on my way back to the office, and you called me. You said, "Stop by Fairgrounds. I want you to see the mobile lab." And I said, he's done it. It's up and running. And I'm telling you, I walked in there, I saw, how many computer stations you have set
We
up
have 8 working Windows 10 computer station,
there? I thought you had about
and
8.
in them we run computer coding programming that is age appropriate. And
So kids can learn how to do
Yeah.
coding on those computers.
Yes, and I will say I'm really blessed by a bunch of volunteers that are computer programmers that have just given their time to come out to the housing development, and some of them have never been to the housing development. Not that it's not in a way that they look down on it, but then they realize that God has blessed them with so much, and they want to give back. And I look at our community, and I know for some people that will watch this program, they are sitting on a potential that they can touch a life that will change a generation.
It really will. Now, what's that guy who he came to my class with you, and then I saw him out there making adjustments on the trailer.
Is it a big guy?
The big guy, yeah.
Gus Hall. Gus is used to run a recording studio. Now he is the he is the mobile lab director. He directs all the different programs and the scheduling of the program. I tell you, when we pull up in the housing development, at this point we're concentrating on 2, Fairgrounds and Black Hawk.
Okay.
And when we pull up the trailer there, you just see the kids coming. And not just kids, actually adults as well.
They want to see what's going on.
They want to see what's going on. And the other day, I had just a couple of 9, 10-year-olds just walked into the recording studio, and we started mixing some beats for them. And they were just singing along. And last Friday, this really excites me the most. As we were out there with the trailer, and somebody had told me, play some music to bring the community out together. We had a mini block party in Fairground.
Really?
Yeah, there was no barbecue. I wish there was a grill. I wish the trailer had a space that I can prop up a grill and just bring out the grill and cook. And you know the exciting thing about this trailer? It is heated and it's air conditioned.
Well, you know, when I saw it, I mean, I knew what your vision was. You had gave me an idea in my office. You talked about it, but to actually see it and seeing the kids come on, and sitting down, especially the young man who stood by me, was trying to do things on the keyboards in the studio area. I wanted to have you on the show at that point because other people need to know that people like you are trying to make a difference in our community. Now, do you have a schedule or where the mobile lab will be at?
Okay, I'll give you a
certain
full
days and
schedule.
times?
Every Monday until the school ends, we are at Black Hawk, just next to the Boys and Girls Club, and we are serving the Boys and Girls Club as well as Bayer Elementary, which is the same group of kids. I think we are yet to sort all the minor detail out of the kids to see how many can we fit every week, because they have lots of kids that attend that program. Then every Wednesday we are at Fairgrounds, Wednesday and Friday. And why do we choose 2 days in Fairground? Because we sense the need is much more present in Fairground because of the mass concentration. And one of the things that I'm hoping that we can do is, actually I want to record a musician, a recording artist from Fairgrounds. And our goal is to help these young people with creative skill, market their skill, record in the studio, do all the final production, send it to an outlet where it will be finally digitized, and they can bring it back, and then we'll put it back for them on iTunes for sale and help them. No, we don't want to run the business of selling music, but whatever we can do as a way of helping them sell their creativity.
Now, have you thought about this? Because it just crossed my mind. Say it gets so popular, and you got a bunch of kids who want to come and get on there. They want to get on the computer. They want to spend some time. Do you think you get to a point where they have to sign up and schedule times to come and actually participate, so they, say they come running in there at 9 o'clock, or especially in the summer, and they got to wait to get on. They got to wait. Have you thought about what would happen if it becomes so successful?
We are already having that schedule.
Okay.
Because in Fairgrounds, we only have 10 workstations and a mini recording studio. So what you do is you have the first 10, which they have to sign up. They will be in the first 1 hour, and then another set in the second hour, and then another set in the third hour. And this is just by way until school is over. When school breaks start, when the summer breaks really kicks in, we will start with from 9 and go all day. And by the way, we're having a first big, it's not taken away from the Park District, but we're having a movie night on the side of the trailer and a kickoff campaign with music and performance in Fairgrounds June 1st. It's a Wednesday night. It's going to start at 5 till 9 p.m. So we will have a kickoff with music. There will be some hot dog and buns and grill. We will have the grill. We will have the music playing, live music, and then we'll have the kids playing on the computer, because we want to build a new. I'm very hopeful about our community.
Well, we have about 2 minutes left. Ever since I met you, when you say you're gonna do something, you really do it. I'm totally impressed. Have you always been like this? I mean, you've been pretty successful in almost every endeavor you've worked on. Where does that drive come from?
I think there's an inner conviction in me. If I am not able to do something, I'll tell you that's not my strength. But where I see I am able to do something and I embrace it, obstacle is not a reason to give up.
Right. You said something earlier, and I'm not trying to encourage kids not to get a GED, but there are some very successful businessmen. Well, I know one specifically. I never mention his name. Very successful. Never graduated from high school. And I don't know if he even has a GED, but he's very successful. It ties into what you were talking about earlier, that coding, different things where when you got a knack to learn how to do something and do it right, anything can happen. 1 minute left. You're the chaplain. You're on duty. Your phone didn't ring. We're pretty lucky, huh?
Yes, I am. In the beginning, I was kind of nervous. What if I sit on this and then all of a sudden the phone goes off on air? What are we going to do? But, thank God that means the city is safe.
Now, we only have about a few seconds, but you're from Nigeria?
Yes, I am from
When you plan on going back there again? Or it's not in the plans right now?
Right now, the project that I have confronting me, I want to make a success of all of this. By the way, I had sent a mobile library to Nigeria because we've done the mobile library, built a library. That library has become the vehicle that has become the peacemaking vehicle in northeastern Nigeria. It's 2 years after the Boko Haram adopted those 200 plus girls, and our mobile library has become a trauma healing. It's not necessary. We're not professionals, but just a place for kids to hold a book and just be kids again.
Okay, we have to leave it right there. Samuel, Reverend Samuel Sarpia, I really appreciate you coming in and joining me and doing what you're doing in our community. I know it's going to make a difference. Okay? I want to thank you. Hope you enjoyed this great young man in our community. If you can help him, get on board. Never hurts anybody to help. And as usual, I'll see you next time.
Well, it's time to make that change. People of the world today are fading. All of us have our ups and downs. You better think about it or you won't be around. What we need is a little bit of love, sent by one from heaven up above. Chicken for tea is simple and plain. This ain't no game, you know what I'm saying? What? Yep, yep.